Buddy from YouTube, how are you guys doing out there? It is a Sabbath to our Creator. It is a beautiful day. Regardless of the weather, it is a beautiful day because it is a day of rest. This is a day that is a mark of the people of Yahuwah. The people of Yahuwah keep this day as a rest, and we are giving all glory to Yah, giving huge props to Yahushua, the Son of the Most High. And a lot of you guys know him as Jesus the Christ, which I've said this before and I'll say it again. There were no J's in Hebrew. The letter J wasn't invented until 1529. So if Acts 4:12 is correct and there's only one name under heaven by which man may be saved, we might want to get that right. So I would like to basically talk a little bit about, I guess this is a character flaw in myself more than anything, because I still get rowdy and I still answer people the wrong way. And the site 153news.net, there is and that is not for kids. So kids, if you're listening to this, don't go there. It is definitely not. It's a place for truth, but the truth is extremely ugly and foul. But at 153news.net, there is a segment that was posted called Candles in the Dark. And it talks about deprogramming people. And the problem is we are all completely programmed and have been programmed from everything from the right and left to everything about religion. When we take religion and we put a man-made spin into it, well, and then we push people to believe in our method of madness, that we have believed that we have our doctrine correct, and it goes contrary to the Bible, that is called programming. And when people are programmed, they don't know they're programmed. In the series of Candles in the Dark, it talks about things like a void. A thing in a person's mind that if you give them the truth, if they have never sat and dwelled upon that truth, they'll give you the look in their eyes like they're stupid. They just sit there because they don't know how to respond, because you're touching on places in their mind called the void. And the void is just a spot where they have not thought about things of this nature. As Christians, we were taught to believe that the laws of God are no more, the laws of Yahuwah, and that we don't need to follow them because there was a new way. There was a new hero, and our hero is Messiah Yahushua, or Jesus the Christ, as the Christians call him. And it is because of his beatings and torture and sacrifice and death upon the stake, or the cross, as they say, that we can now live a different way that is contrary to what the scriptures say. And when we are in this programming lie, the thing that I oftentimes don't understand is how can people not see what I'm seeing? And the segment of Candles in the Dark explains this. It explains how the programming kicks in. And when I was in Christianity, they gave me stuff like the Romans Road to Christ. They had every track possible, and everything was all the exact same. And we are completely, without a shadow of a doubt, programmed into thinking a specific way. And when you touch upon somebody's programming, they become defensive, right? And the thing that you learn in the Candles in the Dark series is that you can never argue with somebody, because when you start arguing with them, you put them into defense mode and you become the enemy instead of us trying to save the people. We're sitting here trying to save people, and we know that their souls are damned because they're sitting there eating pork and living in sin, and they think that Messiah Yahushua came to free them from the food being dirty and cling. And when you read the scriptures, it's nothing like that. And so I still have a problem. I am programmed to try to unprogram people the wrong way. And I am going to watch this series on 153news.net. And I'll put this link. I'll put the very first one in the link in the description if you guys want to watch it. And again, 153news.net is not a place for kids. Don't go there, kids. Please, whatever you do, do not go there. This is for awake adults who are seeking the truth about everything that has been censored off the internet. And it is in a sense, it is a spiritual place, but you have to be able to filter the great evil that is there. And the great evil is simply that truth as we know it is not what we think it is. And when we figure out what the truth is, it's very ugly, it's very nasty. And the people that are orchestrating the lies against us are dark, evil, soulless people. So I want to go over this because in my email, I was telling my family, I don't understand why the heathens rage. And David didn't understand why the heathens rage either. But it's because I have done a bad job in understanding their programming, and I was once programmed. And how I awoke was not how most people awake. You can't go to somebody and tell them the truth because their programming will kick in. Their truth to them is what the preachers in the pulpit have told them as they worship on the wrong days. Lots of people are stuck in that, right? And there is no creator in a temple made by hand on a wrong day of worship. In fact, I would argue that is probably Hasatan that gives people the good feelings, and as they sit there and pass the plate and pay money on the Sabbath, on their what they call a Sabbath, which is not the Sabbath, they would be breaking laws as well, right? We are not supposed to buy and sell, and we're supposed to rest on the Sabbath. So I want to go over this. And people always, this is without a shadow of a doubt, you can ask my wife, people say I am egotistical and prideful. And I have tried over the years to remain as humble as I possibly can. I am a mere creation when it comes to our Creator. I am simply a pile of dust that has been made flesh. And every last breath that I have is because my Creator has allowed me to breathe that breath. The reason that I'm sitting here talking to you today is because my Creator has given me life and has protected me through various things of uphill battles where I should be long gone. I should be some drug addict in an alley with a syringe in my arm, probably on death's door, if not already long dead. It is by the Creator's hand and His power that He has allowed us to be talking today. And it is by His glory and by the glory of His Son that I have my eyes opened. And I do not believe it's ego. I don't believe it is pride. I do have pride in the Torah. It makes me proud to serve on the side of our Creator. It makes me proud that I am part of a little tribe of people that most don't make it. And I understand that they attack Messiah Yahushua, as you say, Jesus the Christ, and they will attack me. So I have to come to these conclusions and understand that it is an honor to be attacked the way I am. And it is a dishonor to respond how I respond. And I don't do it right. I try to do it with as much love as possible, but there is a huge amount of people, and they all come with the exact same arguments. They all come with the exact same programming, but they are unwilling to listen because their programming has them knowing their way is the only way. And any other way other than their way, they go into defense mode. And that is what we have been taught. Most people are good people. Most people have really good hearts. They have simply been led astray by the indoctrination of men, and they will refuse to listen. Let's go into my terrible responses, and let's go into I don't know if it's a sister or a brother, but let's read this through. And this is from Man to Me 91. He or she says, one huge problem, the law was only given to Israel and not existed for nearly 2,000 years. Okay, I'm going to stop right this. The law was given to anybody who wants to be a child of the Most High. The covenant that was the old covenant is this: if you will obey my laws, statutes, and commands, I will be your Elohim and you will be my people. That's what it was. And that is what the Israelites broke. The stiff-necked people couldn't make it happen. They were struggling. They struggled in sin, and they were stiff-necked, and they refused to keep the laws, statutes, and commands. So the very first thing that is incorrect here is that it has existed. It has existed since the beginning of time. And when you read the scriptures, it says the Torah is good for all generations. It never says all generations until my son Yahushua comes. It says for all generations. We can't. 2 Timothy 2:15 says this, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman who needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. If we take one sentence or one verse out of context and we are not contemplating the entire setup, then we are not rightly dividing the word of truth. So the law has never gone away. The law has always been with us, but what has been hidden from us is that we should be keeping the laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator, and we should be walking with Him, which I will tell you first, they are not too hard to bear. They're easy. They're very easy. Very, very, very easy. Let's continue on. No one alive today was born under the law, and no one alive today is redeemed from its curse. And again, this is strictly programming. This is not true. This is 100% false. We have been born under the law, and the second that we put our hand in the cookie jar and break the laws of God, we fall under the curse of the Torah. We are redeemed by the curse of the Torah, by the blood of our Mashiach, Yahushua HaMashiach. That is what he came. He came to become our high priest, our Melchizedek priest, or Melchizedek priest, how you want to say it, and he became our sacrifice. He says no one alive today is redeemed from this curse. That is very incorrect. We are redeemed. We have the curse of the law, of breaking the law, that will be broken when we call upon the name of our Messiah. That was the entire point of our Messiah coming, was to break the curse of the Torah so we did not die a second death. We are all going to die a first death. Most of us. I don't know, it depends on where things happen, but for the most part, most of us will die the first death. But the second death is about our soul. Will our soul go to the Shamayim? Will we live in the kingdom to come? Will we be with our Creator? Will we be with the Son of the Creator? Well, if we do not keep the laws, statutes, and commands, that Matthew 7 says that our Messiah will tell us to depart from him because we are lawless. Let's continue on. 3 questions. Were you ever part of the old covenant that Moshe meditated? Moses, absolutely. I am under all generations. We are supposed to keep the laws, statutes, and commands for all generations. All you have to do is read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and it says over and over and over that the laws are for all generations. In fact, it goes as far as it says there's only one Torah for the stranger and the native. That means if I was a Gentile, that Torah is still for me. Question 2. Were you born subject to the Mosaic law? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. We are born into this fallen world, and the only way that we have forward, which is what the Torah means, it means the way forward. The only way forward that we have is by keeping the laws, statutes, and commands. It's like my children, and we had an argument this week, right? It's over basic stuff. It's over simple stuff, but they forget to do it. They don't do it, and it breaks my Torah. It makes me angry. I get very angry at them, and I don't understand. I have basic rules for my house, and sometimes they forget them, and I don't understand why. They will say, I forgot. And I'm like, okay, don't forget again. But if they continue to break it, it drives me furious. It makes me rage. It makes me rage. What do you think when we discard and disgrace the laws of our Creator? How patient is he that he doesn't come and just wipe us out when we're sitting there eating pork and living like he says we should not live, right? Yes, we were born under the laws of Moses. And here's where I guess the programming comes in. They have the Mosaic law. It's the laws of Yah. It's Moshe was the one who brought them. It's not Moses' laws. They are the laws of Yah, and absolutely we were born under them. Anybody who wants to be a child of the Most High is born under them. If you don't want to keep his laws, you don't need to, right? You can be a Gentile. You can do what you want to do, and the Bible says exactly what happens to those who do that. Here we go. Did Christ redeem you from the curse of the law? Yes. Mashiach stopped the payment of second death if we are keeping the laws, statutes, and commands. The curse of the law, of the breaking the Torah, you're not going to get out from that curse if you continue in sin. If you're an adulterer and you continue in adultery and you go home every night and you pray that your sins are forgiven, that is a joke, because you go out and you're an adulterer again. What happens when you eat pork and you pray over your pork and you think that your pork is going to become clean? The laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator are there to keep us alive. I told my family this story today because I just heard it. It's the CIA or the FBI. They were trying to figure out another method for cyanide for when their soldiers were captured. So what they did is they took shellfish, something within shellfish, and they were able to create an incredible neurotoxin that just kills you, right? So we are told not to eat shellfish. We are told not to eat lobster. We are told not to eat vultures. We are told not to eat pig, right? In fact, the Bible goes as far as saying those who continue to eat the swine's flesh are an abomination to our Creator. That means he may not hate you, but he completely hates the act. And if I get mad at my children for basic Torah breaking of my house, and I'm not talking the laws of God, I'm talking about my house laws. Clean up this, do this, don't do that, right? The same stuff. We have a Torah for our house as well, right? Here we go. So we shouldn't be eating it. So the laws of God keep us alive. He goes, correct answers. No, impossible. Then he goes, how was the law that hasn't existed for nearly 2,000 years your tutor? And he answers it for me. He goes, it wasn't. What do you mean? You have a tutor. All we have to do is open the book of Genesis and start with Genesis 1. Find a version of the Bible that is good and easy to read, say the NIV. And I know the NIV is riddled with errors, but if you're just getting your feet wet, if you're just getting your leather ready to strap out, this is what you want. Get an easy version of it, and when you read this, read it as a love letter instruction guide from our Creator, because that's what it is. It has nothing that is outdated. There's nothing that has not passed the test of time. It is there, and it says over and over and over for all generations. And so this is where I get too snarky. And this is what I responded, but this is the truth. You should read your Bible. That's where I shouldn't say that. That it breaks into the programming. I fouled. This is where it should begin. Those who keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahuwah are Israel. Yes, we are part of the law of Moses. Yes, we are subject to Mosaic law. Anyone who wants to be a child of Yahuwah is under the law. If you want to be a child of Yahuwah, then if you don't want to be a child of Yahuwah, then don't keep his laws. The law never went away. Think not that I have come to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And guys, right there is where the Christian programming kicks in. The first thing that, if you're programmed, the first thing you're going to say when you hear that word fulfilled is that the laws are gone. That is how you know you've been programmed by man. And this is where we need to take our programming off, because fulfilled only simply means to make full. To make full. Our Messiah was a walking example that we could keep the laws, that we could walk in the way that we should walk. Then he continues on. This is all from Matthew 5. Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least commandments and teach men so. Oh, actually, wait, I missed that. So, because that's the meat and potatoes, this entire thing, right? Think not that I come to destroy the Torah of the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For amen, I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, 1 yod or 1 tittle shall in no wise pass from the Torah, till all be fulfilled, right? And I ask people, look out your window. Do you still see the earth? Do you still see the heavens? What do you see? Because it says right there that not one iota, not one character, not one period, not one semicolon, not one set of the entire Torah will be gone until heaven and earth pass away. That's very important to understand. Then it says, whosoever therefore shall break one of the least commandments and teach men so he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the name shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. That's a huge promise. That is something absolutely huge. If you are out teaching that pork is okay to eat and that you are saved by faith only and you don't have to do anything else, there's no follow-up. If you make the kingdom, which most won't, you're going to be a shoe shiner, right? You're going to be the dude who's, lucky he made it. Oh boy, I'm glad I'm not him. And I said, all of your arguments are trumped with this one single verse. Messiah Yahushua said he didn't come to get rid of it. He also said heaven and earth would pass away before the laws of Yahuwah does. Have you looked out your window lately? Is the earth gone? You don't need to keep the laws of Yahuwah if you don't want to. It's your choice to have your ham sandwich if you choose. Free will. I choose to keep the laws of Yahuwah, and I recommend folks do it as well if you care about life and your soul. And I continued on. I said, brethren, this is from John, 1 John. It says, I write no new commandment unto you. What? What does that mean? Why don't we hear this in Christianity? But an old commandment, which ye had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which ye have heard from the beginning. And the Christians will go, well, the word is Messiah Yahushua, it's Jesus, so we've heard it. That's all it is. Unless you know the laws of God, you have not heard them. The word of Yah is the Torah. That's the only thing it could ever be, is the Torah. And I went off about fulfilled. And this is what I explained to my family today. Is a covenant is like a apartment lease like we have in North America. In North America, if I wanted to go rent an apartment, first they are going to credit check me and see if I am able to pay my bills. If I am able to pay my bills and they offer me this apartment, they will give me a sheet of paper. On this sheet of paper, it says things like my address. It says things that I am responsible for my garbage and sewer, or it says that they are responsible for my garbage and sewer. Now, if I am responsible for it, that means I have to pay the monthly bills. It will also tell me if water is provided or if I have to pay for water. A lot of times it will say things like you cannot put holes in the wall. When you return your apartment, you must return the apartment in the exact same condition in which you rented it. You can't have the carpets burned up. You can't have a meth lab inside of it and turn your walls orange and think you're going to be okay. If you break your rental agreement, you are kicked out of your apartment. When your landlord decides they want to inspect your house and you haven't taken out your trash for 7 months and they find that you're a hoarder and that you have dead animals in the house, that place is destroyed. They're going to rip the carpets up, repaint the walls, clean the cesspool up. That's why they give us an agreement. When we are in agreement with this rental agreement, we are in covenant with the landlord. When we keep 7 months of trash and dead animals in our house, we are out of covenant and we are no longer have the ability to have legal grounds to stay in this apartment. If so, the landlord came and kicked us out for no reason, right? They have reason. Here they go again. So he goes on, and this is where the programming comes to massive play. Let me explain abolished versus fulfilled. If you had a 3-year car lease and I tore up that lease, abolished it at year 2, would you still be obligated to its terms? Yes. But if I paid it in full, fulfilled it, then you would still be obligated to it. Of course not. It said, then would you still be obligated to it? Of course not. Jesus made the final payment on the OC, I don't know what that is, and released Israel from it. Fulfilled equals no longer under the terms. That is absolutely incorrect, because we can go to the next section of the fulfilled, and it says there's not, if you're confused at what fulfilled means, then let's continue on in that same passage right under it, right? It says, till heaven and earth pass, one yod or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the Torah. So then he or she goes on. What did it free them up to do? Partake in a new covenant. Okay, I gotcha. Then he goes, have you ever read Hebrews 8 and 9? And for those who listen to this channel, you know that I spent 3 months on Hebrews. It took me sometimes 7 or 8 days for one chapter to fully understand what I was seeing so that I could attempt to explain it to you and explain it in a way that works. This is one I have never heard before, so I have to give this guy props for coming up with something new. This is out of programming, and maybe this is the new programming. He goes, P.S., heaven and earth, and he puts in quotes, temple system. Never heard that before. Passed away in AD 70. You can't be under law without Levitical priests making sacrifices for you. The end. Okay, so guys, heaven and earth has not passed away. Never once have I heard that the temple is heaven and earth. Never once is that in the Bible. I do not know where that comes from or that indoctrination comes from. In AD 70, they had a temple that was destroyed, and in Jerusalem had no flesh would have been left, right? This is the thing that most people do not understand, is that the Levitical system became Messiah Yahushua. Our Melchizedek priest, the high priest, who is not just our high priest, but he is also our sacrifice, is the way that Yah turned this up. That is where the new covenant is. So that's a new one. I'll give that guy props for coming up with something absolutely new. And then we go into here a few more, and I'm bad, right? I go, heaven and earth are still here. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. The guy strikes out so many times, but I don't need to be that guy that says that. So what I want to do is I want to finish this up, and I want to read to you guys out of Jeremiah 31. I want to read, first of all, the old covenant that we are talking about is in the Torah. Genesis through Deuteronomy, it talks about it over and over and over. If you will keep my laws, statutes, and commands, and they are not too hard to bear, I will be your Elohim, you will be my people. And honestly, my friends, if you say that you love God, Elohim, Yahuwah, with all your heart, mind, and soul, but yet you refuse to keep his laws, it would be like my kids that would not pick up their shoes or would not pick up this thing or would not do something, and they do it over and over until I am a raging psychopath, and they're like, we love you, Dad. I'm like, how do you love me when you have me walking around like a raging psychopath, right? It doesn't work like that. If they tell me they love me with all their heart, mind, and soul, then they will attempt to do obedience in the house because they know it sets me off. And that's the best example I can come up with this, and an example of extreme patience with our Creator, and again, where I fail. Jeremiah 31:31. So the first covenant, before I get into that, the first covenant was, if you keep my laws, statutes, and commands, I will be your Elohim, you will be my people, and we broke it. That our generation, our forefathers, our great-grandpas jacked this up. So in Jeremiah 31, this is talking about a new covenant, a renewed covenant. Behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that I will cut a renewed covenant with the house of Yashrael and with the house of Yahudah. And I've heard people say before, it's a new covenant or it's a renewed covenant. Whatever it is, call it new, call it renewed, call it whatever you want to call it. It is, you'll see what it is here in a second. Verse 32, talking about the covenant. Not according to the covenant that I cut with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, which my covenant they broke. Although I was a husband unto them, says Yahuwah. But this shall be the covenant that I will cut with the house of Yashrael after those days, says Yahuwah. I will put my Torah in their inward parts, and I will write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Now, folks, how would we write something on our hearts if we don't know it? People will say, oh, I know the laws. The Holy Spirit gives me the laws. That's how I am holy. You will not understand the laws of God unless you read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy slowly. We got to read this slowly. We can't read it to fall asleep with. We read it, and if we fall asleep to it, I understand. But when we get back up and we're ready to read again, we go back a few chapters so that we are not reading this in a tuckered out state. Guys, the Torah is exciting. It is the most exciting thing that I can ever possibly mention to you because it's our history. Not is it only our history, but it is the beginning of our salvation. It is the way that our Creator has designed us to walk, and it is amazing that our Creator gives a rip about us, that He would give us such an instruction guide. Verse 34, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahuwah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, says Yahuwah. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Wow, what a promise, right? What a promise. But these people that are His people have some certain qualifications, right? We can't keep the trash in our house for 7 months with the dead animals, right? We have to keep our lives clean, our hearts clean, our minds clean. How do we do that? Well, we are in righteousness because we have read the Torah, and we refuse to walk outside of the Torah. So let's go back into Hebrews, because we always have a lot of this in there, right? A lot of Hebrews, everybody's always talking about this new covenant that they do not read and they refuse to read. And when we do read it, it does not say anything that they said it was. So the new covenant begins right here. The renewed covenant, call it what you like, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moshe was admonished of Elohim when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, says he, that you make all things according to the pattern showed to you in the mount. And I've heard Christians preach an entire lesson on the shadow of heavenly things, and that they stop right here. But if we stop right here and we are not rightly dividing the word of truth, then we are lying to ourselves, and we're just letting the man-made programming take us to school. But now has he obtained a more excellent ministry. Oh, they stop right there. Oh, Messiah, Jesus the Christ is that excellent ministry. Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And if we put this in context, this is where it becomes beautiful. By how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. Guys, the new covenant is that it includes our Messiah, which is a better promise. It is a better way. We don't have to slaughter 4,000 bulls and lambs and rams and things of this nature. It's not a bloodbath like it was. It's much cleaner, much, much cleaner. And unfortunately, it came at the expense of the blood of our Messiah. But that's, again, where I've heard the Christian programming kick in. Oh, yes, we want that excellent ministry. We want the better one. We don't want the shadow of the old things. That was no good. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. They're like, oh, see, the Torah, that was terrible. We shouldn't be under the law because it says right there, if it was faultful, right? Like, our Creator created sets of laws that He decided were bad. That's not what this is saying. It is saying that we broke. We, human beings, we kept the seven months of trash and dead animals in the house. We broke the covenant that we were not supposed to do that. We bowed down to a calf. We were adulterous. We did not believe. We did not do what Yah told us to do. Then should no place have been sought for the second? We have the second because we broke the first. We are all out of covenant. If Yahuwah had not given us this second covenant, this renewed covenant, we would be burned. For finding fault with them, he says, behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, when I will make a renewed covenant with the house of Yashrael and with the house of Yahudah. My friends, there is no house of Gentile right here, right? All of the programming has people saying, oh, I'm a Gentile, I'm a saved Gentile. There's nowhere in this book that says Gentiles are saved. If you are a Gentile, that means you have 7 months of trash and dead animals in your house because you're out of covenant. You are out of covenant. You don't want to be a Gentile. That is a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. Verse 9, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Mitzrayim, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, says Yahuwah. It has nothing to do with the laws of God being bad. He is reinforcing that this new renewed covenant is the same as the old, only it has a mediator. It has Yahushua HaMashiach, our high priest, whose blood sacrifice is by which stripes we are healed. Verse 10, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Yashrael after those days. Pick your house, friends. Says Yahuwah, I will put my Torah in the trash? No. I will put my Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, into their mind and write it in their hearts. And I will be their Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. Hallelujah. We have a creator who wants to be our leader. In this world of darkness, we have the greatest thing possible. We have the creator, and we have his son. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know Yahuwah, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. Guys, we are in a state, everybody knows who God is. You've either picked your path, and you can pick the path of righteousness, which is a narrow path, but it says most don't keep it. Most fall off. Most don't make it. In a world of 5 billion so-called Christians, 3 billion Christians, whatever the number is, how is it possible that most don't make it? If even millions of people made it, that would still be a lot. But it says in Matthew that most don't make it. What does that mean? Well, it means that. And it says, why wouldn't we want to teach his neighbor and every man his brother about Yahuwah? Because they know it, right? The stuff, the lessons that you and I are talking about here, this is what you guys need to be speaking to your family, to your friends. They need to know who Yahuwah is. Whether they accept it or reject it, it is our job to give this to them. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their Torah-less deeds will I remember no more. Oh, well, that's good. We don't have to keep the Torah because he won't remember it. No, it doesn't say that. Verse 10 says you are going to write it into your heart, mind, and soul. And I will tell you firsthand that when you are about to cross over out of covenant with Yah, with the things you do, your conscience kicks in. And you will sit there and you will be hounded by it. You will hurt by it. Your life will be agonizing with it because you are now out of covenant, because you have chosen to do something that is against the laws of Yah. Verse 13, in that he says, a renewed covenant he has made the first old. Now that which decays and waxes old is ready to vanish away. And again, Christian programming will go right there. Oh, well, the first one is old. Yeah, it's old. We didn't follow it. We didn't keep it. It's on the shelf. It's not the same thing. We don't have to slaughter 3,000 rams as a sacrifice for our sins and keep that going on a forever basis. We have Yahushua HaMashiach. We have the Son of the Most High, and he became that blood sacrifice for us. There's no other way. There's no other way. Now that which decays and waxes old is ready to vanish away. And the Christians will go, that's the Torah, right? It doesn't say that. Right? We need to study to show ourselves approved unto Elohim, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. If you're ashamed, you're right, you're breaking the Torah. If you don't know the Torah, there's nothing to be ashamed about because you're not a child of the Most High. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up here, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Shabbat. I hope you guys are blessed. I hope you guys are keeping the laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator. There's no better way. There's no better future. There's no better life for your family. He will bless you. He will take care of you. And I know a lot of you are struggling right now. We just got done with our morning prayers, and we have a huge prayer request list. And if you guys need prayer request lists, please put them down. If you can kind of put possibly what you may need so we have a direction that we can put our prayers, we will do that. And we are just human like anyone else. I'm not saying that you must follow this or you must do this. I am saying that if you would like to be a child of the Most High and do what the Bible says to do, then we should all be in covenant with our Creator. And being in covenant means that we have written His Torah on our hearts, minds, and souls. They're on our eyes as frontlets. They're on our arms. They're on our doorposts. They're on our gates. It's everything. It's what we rise to. It's what we go to bed to. It's what we sing about. It's what we have as joy. It is what clears our conscience. It is what we do where our Creator will abide with us and He will send miracles beyond. Whatever you need, He will provide as long as it is in His will. Much love. I'm out.